All right, 4.7, inverse trig functions.
Why are we in 4.7? I thought we were on 4.5.
Do you want to graph other trig functions?
No, thank you.
Like tangent and
4.7 is
cotangent
great.
and secant and
4.7 is
cosecant?
lovely,
Okay, that's what I
lovely.
thought.
I didn't even know what we were on.
Graphing sine and cosine's okay. The other ones are like, You skip them. We only have one more section after this one, and then we'll be ready for a quiz/test. All right. Your book does not do as good of a job of doing this stuff as the Algebra 2 book, so I'm actually using the notes for inverse trig from Algebra 2 because it makes it just a lot easier to understand than the unique angle y in the interval such and such that this is the inverse sine of blah, blah, blah. That sounds really confusing, right? So I'm going to give you a much easier version. So if you look in your book and you're like, that's not there, it's because it's in the Algebra 2 book. So. All right, first one. So I'm going to write stuff here, and then I'm going to draw the graph of it over here on the side. So I'm going to stop like halfway over so I can draw a graph over here. If -1 is less than or equal to a, less than or equal to 1, then the inverse sine.
What does it say?
If it's greater or less than a, or is less than or equal to a.
-1 is less than or equal to a.
It said
what?
what?
Equal to 1.
I thought it did too. I was like, is that
What?
an S? And then
I couldn't
anyways.
tell.
What?
Look,
From a distance, it
the
kind of
first
looks
less than and equal to looks like an
Yesterday
S,
was
so
a
we were
hot
all
mess.
confused.
It's carrying into today.
Yes.
My brain is just
That's
foggy.
That's because none of us slept.
Or left school with even a decent amount. We didn't leave until like 8.
Yeah.
No, we were stuffing Easter eggs last night.
Playground.
Oh, I just switched to an eraser and I erased all my notes.
All right, then the inverse sine or arc sine. Okay, that's another name that I will call it sometimes. Of A is an angle theta, written theta equals sine to the -1 of A, which is not how we say it. We say it is either inverse sine or arc sine, but just so you know how to write it. Sine of A or sine of theta is equal to A, and -pi/2 is less than or equal to theta, less than or equal to pi/2, or -90 degrees is less than or equal to theta, less than or equal to 90 degrees. But we're pretty much always going to want everything in radians unless they specifically tell you otherwise. I'm going to draw my graph here.
I knew you were doing it for a reason because you usually always
Well, she
write all the
literally
way
said
over.
that.
She did say that.
She literally said, I'm not writing all the way over. It's really irritating that like your iPad makes it so good that I looked on it. It's so bad.
Except I looked down
I
and
think you
tried to
should
do
draw
that
the
with
circle and then the line.
I know, I was just thinking that. I still can't do it.
There we go.
Close enough.
Nope. Oh, well.
Yeah, we're going with
Good enough. Okay, great. All right, so sine only occurs over here on the right-hand side. Okay? Because remember, all values occur twice. Okay, so sine values, we're looking at y. So there are two sides of the unit circle where the sine of y, with the highlighter, the sine of y is positive, and when it's, and then two places where it's negative. So by us restricting it to the right hand side, that only lets it occur one time. Okay, it'll make more sense when we do examples. Oh, not that. And it's very specifically from -pi/2, Okay, so don't be like, oh, it's at 330 degrees. Like, no, it's at negative 30 degrees. Okay, because we only go negative pi over 2 up to pi over 2.
I didn't see that. It's okay. How do you vote?
So then,
Oh my word, I remember doing this.
that's good. If negative 1 is less than or equal to a, less than or equal to 1, then the inverse cosine, also known as arc cosine of a, is an angle theta, written theta equal to cosine to the negative 1 of a, where cosine of theta equals a, and 0 is less than or equal to theta, less than or equal to pi, or 0 is less than or equal to theta, less than or equal to 180 in degrees. Alright, so I learned my lesson last time. We're going to draw the circle first, and then the lines.
Good job.
So where would that mean that this one occurs? Where do I need to color?
The two top halves.
The two top pieces, okay, because that accounts for my positive x values and my negative x values each occurring once. Okay.
I'm sorry. Number 2, is that a 0 or a theta?
This one's a theta, this one's a 0.
Okay.
So then the labels on this one, it's from 0 to pi.
I still have to draw it.
Oh my goodness. I do too. So like
Oh, that's really bad. Oh.
Okay, so sine is on the right, cosine's on the top. So we still have to deal with tangent. If a is any real number, then the inverse tangent of a is an angle theta, written theta equal tangent to the negative 1 of a, where, okay, an inverse tangent also can be written as arctan, just FYI, where tangent of theta is equal to a, or negative pi over 2 is less than or equal to, or sorry, not less than or equal to, this one's just less than, theta less than pi over 2, or negative 90 degrees is less than theta less than 90 degrees. So this one occurs back on the right side. So you have 2 that occur on the right side and then 1 that occurs on the top. So labels, again, we're negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. Okay, the reason that we're not including the negative pi over 2 and the pi over 2 is because tangent is undefined at those values. Okay, because y over x, or no, wait, yes, because x would be 0, so it would be undefined.